This is 3 News Daily.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Daily. I'm Stephanie Haney here on this Friday, October 28th. And we have shocking breaking news this afternoon. Paul Pelosi, husband to the Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, was violently attacked in their family home in California this morning. Pelosi's spokesperson, Drew Hamill, says the attacker is in custody and that the motive for the assault is under investigation. The Speaker of the House was not in the house at the time, but 2 people with knowledge of the investigation told the Associated Press that her 82-year-old husband, Paul, was severely beaten with a hammer and suffered blunt force injuries. Terrible. The assailant was allegedly looking for Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi's office says he was taken to a hospital and he is expected to make a full recovery. We are thinking of the Pelosi family today. And now we turn to Westlake, where a 21-year-old British man has been arrested for creating child pornography. Police say Alexander Dunn traveled here to see a teenage girl that he met online. The father of the girl hadn't seen her in days and learned that she had been staying with Dunn in a nearby hotel where police found recording equipment. Dunn is now charged with illegal use of a minor in nudity-oriented material, which is what we plainly know as child pornography. A Rocky River judge set his bond to $50,000 and he had to surrender his passport. Also today, a former Cleveland Metropolitan School District therapist was sentenced for her involvement in the January 6th riot in Washington, D.C. Christine Priola pled guilty to obstruction of an official proceeding and had sent the judge a letter asking for mercy before the sentencing hearing. Priola's lawyer said she ended up in the Senate by accident and that she was only there to peacefully protest. Our own Bree Buckley has the full story.
Christine Priola says it was this day that changed her life forever. The former Cleveland schools therapist is hoping a 10-page letter to a U.S. district judge will help her get a more lenient sentence for her involvement in the January 6th Capitol riot. This picture showing her inside the Senate chamber. In the letter, she says that she used to wish she had food poisoning that day or a broken leg so she would have avoided committing a crime. Now she's claiming full responsibility, asking the judge for mercy ahead of her sentencing Friday, going on to say she had turned to news and politics to excessively fill a void, saying she was emotional in the months leading up to that day after her daughter moved out and her father died.
Go find the children.
This footage from last year shows her outside her old Willoughby home, shouting ideology that aligns with QAnon conspiracy theories of government child sex trafficking. She says she was forced to sell that home following the fallout after the riot to move into her mother's basement.
This world is run on the blood of innocent children.
Since then, she's pled guilty to obstruction of an official proceeding and aiding and abetting, an extremely serious federal offense, according to former federal prosecutor Subodh Chandra.
The court really has a lot to weigh here. They have to weigh the fact that this individual has at least belatedly accepted responsibility and done so in a rather dramatic way, and then compare it to the conduct and the planning and the seriousness and the message that needs to be sent to the public.
He says the court will be considering not only her punishment, but a sentence that will deter others from doing the same.
The world is watching this, and the judge knows it. This is not one of those sort of intimate moments in a courtroom where it's just one individual who's made a mistake.
As she hopes her plea won't fall on deaf ears, apologizing for her actions, saying, quote, "I am truly sorry for all those who were hurt that day, especially those who died. I hope someday they can forgive me."
Thank you for that context, Bree. And we saw her there illegally entering the Senate chamber in total. We know that she was inside the Capitol building for about 30 minutes. And now she'll spend 15 months in prison. She's also been sentenced to 1 year of supervised release, and she has to pay a $2,000 fine. Also today, a portion of East 55th Street near Quincy Avenue will be renamed. From now on, it will be known as Anthony Dewan Hughes Jr. Avenue. Anthony was walking home from a community meeting in 2020 when he was shot and killed. He was a beloved member of King Kennedy's Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Ohio and a student at James F. Rhodes High School, doing so much good for the community, and he was only 15 years old. Now, back to the city of Cleveland, where moves are being made to get the Community Police Commission up and running. Mayor Justin Bibb announced his 10 nominees for the 13-member commission during Monday night's city council meeting, and he presented them today. Mayor Bibb's picks have to be approved by the council mayor's appointment committee and then will be voted on by the full council. 3 News' Marissa Saenz will have more on the nominees this evening. Now we have to talk about some health news. There's a new study that shows that the number of people living with depression in Ohio is above the national average. According to research from the Health Policy Institute of Ohio, 22% of Ohioans live with depression. The national rate is 20.5%. The research also shows that more Ohioans are receiving treatment than the national rate. 18.6% of adult Ohioans are being treated for depression, and that's compared to 16.5% of U.S. adults. Another 25% of Ohioans say that they felt they needed mental health treatment, but did not seek it. Hopefully those people will get the help that they need. And 30 years after Jeffrey Dahmer received 15 life sentences in prison, his crimes are still shocking the world, and that's especially true for the Northeast Ohio community where he grew up. And the new Netflix special, Dahmer, is bringing back memories for 2 people specifically, his childhood friend and his defense attorney. 3 News investigator Marissa Saenz has that story.
To true crime lovers, he is fascinating. For many, his crimes are too gruesome to fathom. But for some, knowing Jeffrey Dahmer is simply a real-life story. Through the lens of our video, seen for the first time in over 30 years, we share with you the Dahmer we know.
What are you doing there?
The story of Jeffrey Dahmer is captivating a new generation across the globe.
I hear screaming coming from your apartment.
But for some here in Northeast Ohio, it's reliving a story many still can't understand.
My address was 4485 West Bath Road, and Jeff Dahmer's was 4480 West Bath Road, right across the street.
For childhood friend Eric Tyson, the early memories around Bath Township are innocent, full of nostalgia.
This is the hill. Our school bus stop was just up ahead at the base of this hill. It was up here, this driveway up on the left. That's where our old school bus was. On our left is Jeff Dahmer's house. My house is right across the street. That's my old house. It looks a lot different.
Tyson says he and Dahmer, just 3 years apart, spent many of their young years together, hiking and biking, until each took vastly different paths.
He had quite a collection of skeletons, and he was interested in that. Nothing I particularly was interested in, but to each their own.
By high school, they'd drift apart. Dahmer played tennis. Tyson was into electronics and photography.
By the time he started driving, I didn't see him a whole lot.
But Tyson can't shake moments of Dahmer that were less than normal.
I think Jeff was lonely. He was an attention getter. He wanted to do crazy antics, and making noises and that sort of stuff.
Dahmer began his killing spree close to home. The first in 1978, just 3 weeks after graduation from Revere High. Tyson had no clue of the horror happening just yards away.
We were watching the news and the story broke, and the phone rang right away.
Dahmer picked up 18-year-old Stephen Hicks, killing the Summit County teen and burying him around the house.
Well, I knew the property. I knew the little door underneath the house where they say he had stashed the body.
The days aren't so fun for his attorney, Bob Mosener.
And frankly, I've never had a client like Jeffrey Dahmer.
A recommendation from a reporter would lead Dahmer's father, Lionel, to Mosener, who was in Philadelphia with no sights set on the national story.
Wasn't following the case. Wasn't interested in it.
Mosener describes his meeting with Dahmer as nothing less than how he's portrayed on the screen.
But hearing the graphic detail was more than I could stand.
I had a drill at home, and it's going to sound bad.
Traveled up to Wisconsin and visited him at the prison. Like in the Silence of the Lambs, they had him in an area that was like a cage, actually, with plexiglass or bulletproof glass.
Dahmer was cold, short-answered, leaving Mosener with a certain creepy crawl on his skin.
The first interview was very strange. And after the interview, You could see that there was nothing there in his eyes. I was very uncomfortable, and usually I'm not with my clients.
Dahmer would plead guilty, be sentenced to life, and sent back to Wisconsin. It would be the last time the two would ever talk.
I told Jeffrey's father after the sentencing that I predicted he would not live 2 years in prison, that they would kill him in prison. This guy was a monster. I don't know how else to describe him.
There's the house. It looks the same, a little different color right now.
While Tyson and Mozener have left it all behind, others seemingly can't let the story of Jeffrey Dahmer die.
You know, everyone's just sort of, the story won't go away.
Marissa Sines, 3 News.
Incredible reporting. 3 News did reach out to Dahmer's father, Lionel, and the Hicks family, all of whom respectfully did not accept our request for comment. Now, let's talk the election. The midterms are about a week and a half away, and Baldwin Wallace University released the results of a poll predicting the winners of the Senate and the governor races. Democrat Tim Ryan currently holds a very narrow lead over Republican candidate J.D. Vance. Roughly 50.2% of the respondents favor Ryan and 46% favor Vance. For governor, 56% of those who responded say they're voting for Republican Mike DeWine, and 38% back Democrat Nan Whaley. The poll also says there's a 3.5% margin of error. We will see what happens in 11 days on November 8th. And before we go, we bring you a long-standing controversial tradition, the Chagrin Falls pumpkin roll. Now, this started as a prank in 1967 with stolen pumpkins, but now it's so popular that people actually donate pumpkins to the contestants, who roll them down the hill, smashing them along the way, and then sled down the hill covered in slimy pumpkin guts. I have to say, that is a pretty fun way to slide into the weekend. See what I did there? All right, everybody, thank you for joining us today on 3 News Daily. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy this Halloween weekend as we head into Halloween on Monday, and we'll see you back with more 3 News Daily on Monday on Halloween.